Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. Namaste. Just making sure the volume is okay. Okay, so let's just take this time to connect with Swamiji.
Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate.
So tonight's satsang, we're going to talk about the joy of sadhana. So most people look at sadhana as effort, struggle, stuff that you got to do. This attitude, it makes it almost seem like it's like this chore, burden. It doesn't really come across too much when you're enjoying some aspect of your spiritual practice, but it comes across when you have to engage in things or do things or perform things that ordinarily isn't a part of what you would desire. If you only do what you desire because you feel it's what feeds your soul, you prevent your growth on so many levels. If you can do the things that are a little bit more difficult to you, or maybe is not your first thing that arises in the mind of what you want to do, then that aspect can grow. Maybe it's far behind, which is why you don't feel led to do it. But that part can grow while you continue to engage in that which you enjoy. So, saying this is on the joy of sadhana. And then she shows me a little thing that says power of sadhana. Same difference.
You didn't pay attention to the mailer.
That's what happens. So, luckily, they are connected. Everyone's thinking, how is this a clever way out of this one? But they actually are connected, so thank God. So, if you enjoy something, it becomes more powerful. If you don't enjoy it, you can't connect or attune, so the power that's a part of it, you can't really make use of. It's almost like a dead practice. So that is actually my clever way to jump topics into the right topic. But it is actually still going to apply all the way through. So enjoying is kind of something you can do. Power is something that, it's another aspect. You can enjoy an ice cream cone, but that doesn't make you have the power. You can enjoy a TV show, but you don't necessarily have the power, the grace, Guru Kripa. You don't have what's necessary, the requirement. You haven't met the requirement to really receive what you need. So you can enjoy, the power to enjoy is there. But it doesn't mean you necessarily have the power. So, so the power to enjoy and accessing the power, not to enjoy, but the real grace. They are different things in that regard. So now getting on to the main topic. So the power is really what people are looking for. you think about it, why would anyone make a pilgrimage? What are you looking for? You might be looking for knowledge. That's the power of knowledge. You might be looking for a place to focus your heart, the power of devotion. But you're also looking for some unspoken, miraculous event to transpire for yourself. You don't just get that. It doesn't just happen because you've decided you want it. Grace doesn't flow to you because you've prayed to it and now it should obey you. It doesn't work on your terms. It doesn't work to fulfill your desires. It can help you fulfill your desires. One could argue that everything is God, therefore it's all grace, it's all that we're in the sea of Paramatma, and so therefore we're Atma, Paramatma, it's the same, and so obviously it's all grace and it will take care of you, always has been from the beginning to the end and through the middle. So it's, therefore rendering whatever I'm saying, nonsensical. But the reality is, I know, everyone knows that just because you pray to the divine and ask for the grace to deliver you from some difficulty doesn't necessarily mean you were delivered in the way that you thought. When you ask it to give you all that you desire, does God say, I'm personifying it clearly, but does God step forward and say, absolutely, I'll give you whatever you want, like a used car salesman or something? Like it's not working in some lower, superficial type of a way, which is how people want God to come to them. God, I want to win the lotto. And you'll say, but I want to do good things. Sure, you may do good things with 90% of it, but 10% you're just going to serve your comfort. Can you give all of it away? So we have agendas. We have motives. We have to look at the crossed ways of thinking, feeling. Our devotion is not quite, accurate. It's not quite full. It's not quite pure love. It's not quite pure devotion, or we wouldn't be, a devotee in training, a sadhaka. So to have the power, you don't just get it because you think you deserved it. Everyone out in the world that's really on a high kick for, believing that they're all self-empowered. It's like, it's like if I ran around just saying I'm the president of the United States. It doesn't make me one, You can also go around saying that you're some high spiritual master. That doesn't make you one. You can also go around thinking that you're whatever else you want and that God will serve you according to your whim and go teach that and profess that it's true, and it doesn't make it work like that exactly. So in this world there's always a soft message and then there's the real message. The real message is usually straight, direct, cutting, but it needs to be. There's a lot of nonsense that goes in the world according to the name of spirituality and God and divinity. From people who believe they have all this power and yet don't have the power. So many things I could say on that one, but sticking it to just the application and practicality for what it means to us as a living, breathing, seemingly, sadhaka. What can we do with this? So we take pilgrimages because we're trying to find some connection to some grace that activates us in some particular way. Or you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't go to the Ganga. You wouldn't go to the Himalayas. You wouldn't go to, or Himalayas for normal people, English people. But you wouldn't go to these different things. You wouldn't make use of different sacred tools like, mandala and tantra and, mantra and such. You wouldn't do these things unless you think that there's some sort of power in it. So in a way, you're looking for power. When you pray, you're looking for God's power to come to you. Whether it's from, Krishna or Shiva or from whomever, from whatever, from any source, from a mountain, from the sun, from the moon, from the rain, from the fire, we don't care as long as we get the power. So we are kind of looking for the power. And rightly so, that's what empowers us. You do not empower yourself. I know that's going to irritate people who want to believe they've empowered themselves. But you're not enlightened. You don't feel enlightened. And so what power, as Swamiji would say, and he says all the time and laughs, what power do you think you have? Right? So you need help. And so you need someone to kind of initiate, activate the power. Can it happen without a human body and happen through nature, happen through yourself even? Yeah, sure, it can happen. The thing is, it happens kind of outside the box of when you want it to happen. I remember long ago, I used to meditate, and I'd meditate for hours trying to create some sort of a shift of consciousness where I would not feel the body or the mind, and I would focus and meditate and meditate and meditate and still the mind and still the breath and still everything, where you feel like you're just hanging on almost, you know. And then when the shift would not occur, then you kind of think, you know, something didn't work or whatever. But it's like later you're walking around, you know, 8 hours later, 2 days later, and the shift kind of naturally, spontaneously, seemingly happens, but because of the work that you just did. And it was pretty much reliable to happen something like that, where it would happen sometime later. Not according to your time frame. Just because you sit and meditate does not mean you're going into samadhi. You might not. You might go into misery instead. And then samadhi might come later. Maybe 10 years down the line, maybe 30 years down the line, maybe 2 months, you know, maybe tomorrow, you know. But the point is that the power of the universe, which is really what you're looking for, you're not looking for your power. You know you don't have much power. You're looking to find the source that you are plugged into. So yes, sure, you have Atma, and it's not different from Paramatma, unless you want to get critical and make those distinctions, but a drop is not different from the ocean type of thing. But if you don't feel that always, you don't feel the power. You do feel powerless. You do feel at times hopeless and like you're wandering. Why do you think they're referred to as like a mendicant or a wanderer or a sadhu, or, well, sadhu is a little different to the definition, but the idea that we typically have of someone who's out and looking for the spiritual truth, they're looking for truth, they're looking for love, they are looking for the grace, the power of the divine to support us through the process that we are in, you know, that we're trying to be in, trying to be on, to do our sadhana. If, you know, if a person tries to learn everything they want all by themselves, they can. But if you talk to someone who already knows all that stuff, and they can clear up everything, then that makes it faster. It makes you have access to the power faster. It makes you appreciate the path and life and yourself and others faster. When you communicate to someone who sees everything in a loving way, you become more loving almost instantly. Because you're like, oh wow, isn't that miraculous that they have a different way of experiencing life than I do. That immediately shifts you into, even if you feel kind of the same, but it can shift you actually, or at least inwardly through your perspective on a smaller basis, to a point where you kind of believe that there's a possibility to be different. Just to have the power of that thought is very powerful. But that doesn't give you full access to the power of the universe to use it at your will. It doesn't make you some sort of a master if you have some sort of an experience. It sets you up so that you can continue to grow, baby steps. Even if you have a shift of consciousness and you know for certain you experience it, you are not the body, you are not the mind. You're not your emotions, you're not relationships, you're not of this world, even if you know that. That does not make you fully developed or advanced. You can have those experiences from the wee beginning stages. So there's a lot to understand about sadhana and, you know, what it means for you and how it gets applied and the effects that it can have on you. But that's usually where people take that to be the end, and they've, you know, all of a sudden declared themselves to be a Buddha and something like that. So this idea of getting the power before your time, it doesn't work like that. We all know that. It's clear, you know? And so when you really understand it, it's not like oh, I don't have any power. No, you have power. You have the power to call upon the power to energize you. You don't get all of it. It's like a trickle, trickle charger. I think actually that's an example that Swamiji gave once, that it's like a trickle charge. You're just getting a little bit at a time because you can't handle enough. Your battery cells are not at their optimum primed position, so they need to be taken care of and rehabilitated so that you can handle the energy. You might think, oh, I don't need anyone, to help me. Too bad. There's people all over the place that have helped you already. Just because you've heard of the story of the Buddha. Everyone's heard it. It's not like it's a mystery. Just because you've heard it, even if you didn't want to, that makes an impact in your mind. So that impact makes the Buddha in that moment your guru. Everything around you is teaching you something about life, getting you deeper into your contemplation, getting you deeper into your meditation, giving you a more clear goal. Even if it's not very clear, you have some goal. You're like a blind, naked mole rat looking for the answer. But you don't know where you're going. You're just kind of like got your feelers out, hoping that you land somewhere more truthful. You see some light, but you still can't see anything. And you're like, oh, I think that was that way, But that's how it is. That's an indication that you don't really have the power that you hope you have or want or maybe think you have. So you have to be super honest with yourself. You don't empower because you want it. You empower because you're ready to surrender to it. The power of sadhana is not in how strong you are. The power of sadhana is how humble you can become to the great power, to the Mahashakti. Letting that great power do what it wants with you is how you advance. Now, how can we grow in communion with that? That's the real question. How do we understand it? How do we grow into that energy? How do we connect to it on a consistent basis, not just imagined, but actually? And still, even when you're connecting with the Mahashakti, the great energy of life, it doesn't mean you're getting all of it. You're getting trickle charge, little bits at a time, because you can't handle, everything that would be required. Just on a smaller karmic level, not even taking all parts of your being into account, just a smaller level. If you were to have all that karma served up at once, you'd become quickly so depressed and back away from the path and never want to do it again and think that probably demons are out to get you. Because that's your stuff, that's your karma that you've got to deal with, and it's just too much hitting, all at once. So even when we want the power, it doesn't come to us in the way that we want, because obviously the universe is wiser than the little characters that it created. And so it knows, for lack of better way of explaining, so I'm just personifying things. But it knows not to give you everything because you can't handle it. If you're strong enough to, as Swamiji says many times, he says, if you're strong enough to hold 5 kilos, why would I give you 50 kilos? So if you can't handle your own path as it is now, you probably can't handle much past it. But it doesn't mean don't try. It's like working out. If you can only hold so much, hold more by training yourself so you can get to that place. Sadhana is training yourself to open, to strengthen, to fortify, to release all the impurities and to focus on that which is the absolute ideal or goal. Even if you have smaller ideals first, at least somehow try to make them be on the road towards the greater progression, this greater movement down the line. So power of sadhana. The thing really to realize is not your power that's going to progress you. Your power is to connect to the energy. The energy's power, God's Shakti, whatever, grace, Guru Kripa, its power will move you along. You don't have to do anything but just be open and connect to the energy, and it will do the work. Being open to the energy is half the battle, truly. That's what we deal with through our sadhana. There are techniques to open, techniques to align, techniques to receive. So this power is available, but you need to open to receive. If you think that you can sit and pray for the infinite power of the universe and say, I'm ready, I can handle it, and then 3 minutes later you want to eat an ice cream cone, you're not even anywhere near that level of development. Oh, this bag of chips looks good, let's have that. You have to assess yourself and say, well, this doesn't sound like a spiritual seeker. I feel flimsy and floppy and I need to get pinpointed. So, that's the idea of an ashram, is that you're trying to make all your life aims that are all over the place, typically, concentrated. And you can go visit or you can stay, depending on your life and what you can do. And the idea is to make your life an ashram. Whether or not you can make it look that way externally because of varying factors of family and location, but the idea is to make your inner experience, and it will reflect into your outer. Everywhere you look, it'll feel like it's aligned with the great principle, the ashram principle. You don't need a place, you don't need a thing. You just need that inner attunement. How to find it can be quite complicated. Just because you feel happy doesn't mean that you're attuned to the great power. I know a lot of people will say stuff like that. Well, as long as you're happy, that doesn't mean anything. If I give a person who's addicted to smoking cigarettes, constant chain of cigarettes, they're going to love me. They're going to be so happy. They're like, man, this is so great. It's nice to meet you. And I never knew you were so awesome because you keep feeding them cigarettes. So being happy or having your comfort levels met or having your addictions satisfied or getting what you want in life does not necessarily mean you're on the path. So really understanding what the path is. You have to go through, as Swamiji says many times, you're walking through a beautiful garden, but there will be thorns. There will be times where you don't see flowers. It's all thorns. It may look like all thorns. You may not see sun. You may see it's overcast and it's cloudy and it's dark and you're just bumping into things, getting cut. The sun comes out the next day, maybe a little bit of sprinkle, and you think all is lost, and then flowers start to grow and bloom. So that's a little bit more like the path. Then a week goes by, feels all the flowers fall off. There's only thorns again. You go through more difficulty. And the real power here is, can you stay attuned to the only graceful things are unfolding for you through both of those events? Flowers coming, flowers going. Thorns coming, thorns going. Can you be attuned and see God in all of this? Not only when it looks good, only when it sounds good. So if you can stay attuned to that infinite power in a state of receptivity, it requires, you hear this all the time, but with Swamiji he'll say that sincerity is the most important. Out of all your tools, your spiritual tools, sincerity of growing. You may not be good at meditating. Sincerity is better. Sincerity will make meditation come to you. Honesty. That's how they say, if you want the Sadguru to stay and support you and help you, sincerity makes them stay. As soon as you're no longer sincere about your journey, they have no reason to be with you. To put it in this type of a way of speaking. It may need to be edited to be a little more actual, but, kind of makes sense. So, one of the ways I say, if you want the Guru to remain in your life, you have to grab them by their feet and hold them there and say, do not leave me, in a way. Physically, probably don't do that. But metaphorically, energetically, you have to decide, this is the energy I want in command of my life. If you don't have that made up in your mind, what energy is in command of your life? You think you're in command of your life? Well, okay, fine. How good are you? Are you worthy to be in command of your life? Do you have everything in order? Do you have enlightenment? No? Okay. Things are out of balance. Health's okay, but not terrific. Mental health's okay, not terrific. You get stressed sometimes. You get angry sometimes. You get depressed sometimes. Okay, you need some help. According to this world, psychologically speaking, if you deal with some of that stress and depression and this and that, it's fine. It's kind of normal as long as it doesn't linger and it doesn't progress into something more serious. According to the spiritual path, these are all things that we need to look out for and deal with when it arises so we can get back to a state of equilibrium. Because if you don't have equilibrium, then you can't practice dhyan. You could practice dharana, but choppy, and it's kind of the state is choppy, but You can practice it to a point, but you can't really get into something higher. So equilibrium is required. I mean, that's the whole idea. Getting equal vision, you know. So the power of sadhana. You're focusing on the highest. You call it whatever you want. Truth, or the highest God, or highest divinity, highest consciousness, highest, you know, energy, highest whatever. And maybe to you some idea of God, some aspect of God is the highest. They're all extensions of the highest, so you can't go wrong. But looking for the highest, you have to work with that concept and that theory and notice what's not quite matching. Two parts. Having a little bit more trickle charge, more energy, makes you feel, I feel more energized and meditative than I have before, and my consciousness is shifted in some way where it's not quite what it was. Maybe I wonder if this is more true in my reality and not what I've been feeling my whole life. Then you're on the road to changing the way that you experience yourself, life, God, and the path. So your perspective, your state of consciousness is changing. If you don't spend time trying to do your meditation or your practice or absorbing or attuning, connecting, doing puja, mantra, whatever you like to do, all can be very worthwhile. It's not all about meditating as you'd think, sit down and meditate. I'll give you an example in a second. But you have to do something to try to attune, to try to connect. If you don't have attunement, what do you have? Non-attunement. So you thought it was going to be smart sounding, but it's not. But you have no attunement if you don't have attunement. So then if you don't have attunement to the higher consciousness, to the all-pervasive reality, all that is, then what do you have? So you don't have what you want, you don't have what you're looking for. So, you know, how do you get that? So having this attunement and trying to work with it very actively through puja, through mantra, through offerings, through whatever you do, you know, is very useful. Through reading books, things like this help you to attune. You don't have to sit and meditate like you hear, like just sit and meditate. For one, most people don't know what that means. Most people don't know how to do it, and even when they learn how to do it, it doesn't work. And so they think, oh, I can't be a spiritual sadhaka because I can't meditate. And that's the highest thing other than samadhi, but it's the highest thing, therefore, what's the point? I might as well just, you know, do something else other than spirituality. No, you can do everything else that is spiritually aligned and moving, which is much more practical, and it makes all the sense in the world to do it this way. So you can be trying to meditate and get nowhere. And you can be in a room full of people. They might be doing a puja. And you're like, I'm just going to meditate. Puja, who needs a puja when you're going straight to the Lord? You know, I'm going to meditate instead. And and so you might be sitting there grumpily trying to meditate. Trying to be aware grumpily of your grumpiness and all the other things that are there. People are doing puja, having all your judgments, and then one moment, after an hour of trying to meditate, you realize it's not really working. And you say, you know, I don't want to do the puja, it's not the right way, I've read this thing in a book, and it's supposed to be better to do it this other way, and still the mind, and pujas don't do this, and it's just what people do, and they want stuff. No, it's not. You can do puja and not want anything, except the connection to the divine. You don't have to want wishes like a genie fulfilled. You can only want grace. That's it. Not to better your life, but to have the truth. You don't have to think of puja so, as they usually get dispensed so superficially. You can think of them very profoundly. But let's say somebody is doing puja and it sounds like a lot of noise and a lot of this and that and chanting, and nothing's really helping you. Someone has a lot of sincerity. They make an offering that's like incense, let's say, and you don't think anything of it. The person, walks around and, let's say, or takes the incense to different places, after the main offering maybe to different stations within the area, the temple, whatever your setup is. And you catch a whiff of that. And because it was such a sincere, going back to sincerity, such a sincere, real offering, now no wants were there, just for God, just, a real offering. that carried the energy that once you smell it, it grabs your attention and makes you meditate. When you just failed for an hour or two trying to meditate, thinking that you know the way, and yet somebody lights a stick of incense with utmost sincerity and offering. Their heart is in it, their mind is in it, their soul is in it. That energy is a part of it, such a good offering, which is a meditation. You get a whiff of it, it takes you into meditation, and it's as if, this is better than meditation. So a lot of people get stuck thinking sadhana looks like this or that, which is kind of the point of this. But it can look like anything, and it can work. The point is how to empower it and make it work. And yes, you are not the empowered master. You are someone who is trying to connect with that empowerment, which is always going to be, the great Mahashakti. That is the power. It is literally power. So, and this is not a power to conquer. This is not a power to get your way. This is not a power to make someone be nice because you're done dealing with their craziness. This is not a manipulative power. This is true power. The true, the great, the Mahashakti is the true power. It's something that we want because it makes those who are sincere more sincere, makes those who are loving more loving, makes those who are kind more kind, those who want to meditate have better meditations, those who want to self-heal, they can heal themselves better, etc., etc. This is why we want to attune and connect in this way. So, pujas are great. Yes, people can do them for a lot of wrong reasons. That happens a lot, but who cares? You can do them for the right reasons. You can do them because you want to have good effect unfold for everyone to benefit. Doesn't even have to be for yourself. So, yes, you can make wishes. But I always tell people, but how long until that wish manifests? If you now have to wait because you made the wish, oh man, and you've postponed enlightenment until you make that wish come true, God help you. It's going to be really frustrating. Also now, trying to go do some enlightenment stuff when you've got all these other wishes you wanted to happen in this lifetime. So it's better to say, hey, all those wishes I made? Can we just let those go? I don't want those anymore. Find the real truth, what it is that you're pointed towards, and make that happen. That's really what a sadhaka is doing. A sadhaka is really not the person who's asking for all these material desires and wants their life to go a certain way and, please give me the power so I can be, as Swamiji laughs all the time, so I can be prime minister. That's not really a sadhaka. The sadhaka is not looking for that. They're also not trying to escape being a part of the world. If they need to be prime minister, fine. If they need to be playing some role to better it, totally fine. That's not anti-sadhaka. What I'm saying is that your wish needs to be backed by the utmost in truth, wisdom, sincerity, love, and devotion, doing it for the divine principle, and not because you have something that you want from it. The ego will always get in there. So this power of the reality or universe, the Mahashakti, it's available, but you can't own it. You can't claim it just because you feel like it one day. You can't pray and be super clever and try to manipulate it to serve you. It doesn't work like that. Even if it serves you in that way, you're going to think it's a blessing. It might just be a different thing happening for you. Not to call it the anti-blessing, but but a path deterrent. When you ask for something that's so off the path, Maya may say, fine, take it. Then you get rooted further into the illusion, and now you think that you're having life work out for you. It's all wonderful and great, but something's amiss, and you're making it amiss because you keep asking for things that aren't helpful for you. A person who is looking for the truth, a true spiritual aspirant, a real sadhaka, they're looking to focus on the absolute. That's their only mindset. They don't want anything else. Money will come and go. They don't care. People are going to come and go. I don't want to say they don't care because that sounds kind of crass, but uncaring or something. So they don't care is the wrong terminology. They don't mind. They can't force life to be different than how they want it to be. Yes, they know they could influence and nudge and get things to work in their own favor, but the end result is, why am I doing that? If I'm doing it to better the world, fine. If I'm doing it because I want to better my own agenda, not fine. You need to stop and meditate and really think about it. You're misusing your power. If you're misusing your power, why would God grant you more power? And there's a lot of stories talking about how God actually grants more power. The Shiva Mahapurans and things like that. And it can happen. But if your end result will be you get the thing, and some of the happiness that comes with the thing tied and mixed with a lot of misery which comes with the thing, and furthering, pushing away enlightenment from the possibility for you, is it worth it? A normal person would say, yes, I got the thing. I got $1 million, or I got $1 billion, and it's worth it. But a sadhaka would say, no, I don't want to delay it anymore. Because they know what they're looking for. Part of the power of your own sadhana is to know what you're looking for. Yes, none of us know what God is, and it's outside of the realm of conception and mind and emotion and everything that we can throw at it. But it doesn't mean don't try to think and conceive, because what it does is it works out all the false theories in your own mind and heart. So it gives you a better goal, a better direction. When you have a goal that looks like it's just a mishmash of stuff and ideas, you don't know where you're headed. True, you could argue that none of us ever know where we're headed. That's a mind thing, and it can never know what's outside of the own I can go down that road too if you want. But the reality is, if you clear up your goal, where you want to go, where you want to be headed, and you understand what the principles of God is and what it is not, in a way speaking, once you clarify that, you go faster. If you don't know where you're headed, you're like a fish out of water. I mean, you're just, very un-vegan speak, but you're constantly flopping around, and you're not headed in any real concrete direction. So what's the value of that? You don't get in a car with a map that, like to go somewhere, and your map's broken, and your compass is broken. It's like, you'd be who? Other than an idiot, right? So we know this. There's time for soft talk and there's time for the other. But we know this. And so why would you start the spiritual path knowing that your compass is broken? You don't know what God is, the principles of it. Yeah, sure, walk and meander, go in circles, figure it out, get clear. And when you're ready, then you feel like you can take off. So you have to know what the principles of the divine are. You have to know the laws of karma. You have to know kind of how you got into this predicament, so to speak, how you can get out of this predicament, so to speak, and how you were never even a part of this predicament, the bondage or the freedom, so to speak. Which is why there's so many terms, Atma should be done, right? Then there's Paramatma. It's like, wait a second, I thought Atma was supposed to be the complete, and then there's always going to be more than one. Not because it has to be, but because that's how we work. We work in stages. And you can always get to some stage where you feel like it's completeness, and it's just not quite completeness. And that's always something very important to recognize within your path. What you think is complete may not actually be complete. If you take what you feel to be complete as total completeness, you'll stop at the very beginning. There's always something that feels like it understands completeness, totality, oneness. In the very beginning, there's always something. When you have the basic shift of the initial consciousness, where then you can meditate and access what you might call a unified state of consciousness, in that very beginning state, you can think that you know what the Buddha was talking about, what the great saints of the past were all talking about. You don't. You have the beginning stages of the reflection mind, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the higher intellect that deals with philosophies on an experiential shift type basis, which means you do become a very different person when you have that effect on you. But that doesn't make you a master in any regard. It makes you, hopefully, a better devotee, rather than thinking that you're becoming a teacher that's, some saint or sage like the past. Like delusions spawn from that sometimes. So sadhana is, there's no I can't say there's no space for it, but delusions happen. And we have to become clearer and clearer about what it is that we want. And when you're on a path and you find that you've been on a path for quite a while and you're not quite what you would call enlightened, and hopefully you're not enlightened and think you are, that's even worse. But let's say that you're just, I'm not at total freedom. I'm not beyond suffering. Okay, good. Recognize that. You're not done. So if you can still get irritated, still get depressed, still feel influenced and affected by the gunas, the modes of life and nature and all the effects, you are not there. So very good to know that. Very good to see that. That this is only applying to people who would be at a higher level of consciousness. Anyone at a lower level that thinks they're not suffering is completely needing some time to reorient about what life is before they can get to that level we can have that conversation. But we have this within us, this innate ability where we search, we seek. We just apply it in the world because it's so easy. We look for things that are going to make us happy because it seems more accessible. I can go do this and that's better. I have an itch, I can scratch it. Oh, I feel better. It feels more immediate. When you do spiritual practice, it doesn't always feel immediate. It can sometimes feel like it's going to take forever. Like maybe you don't see any effects happening, but the effects are always happening, they're always unfolding, and they're always going to impact you in a good way. But it might not be so neatly organized on your planner about where it's going to be happening for you, But I put in my phone that I was going to have enlightenment by this date. I did that last year. That was my New Year's resolution. Well, that's probably never going to happen according to the date of your New Year's resolution. You can try for it, but you have to let go of, that would be considered a petty request of the divine. Sounds like enlightenment, I'm going for it and that's all I want. And that's good for us. But you have to have a deeper understanding where you're in it for the long haul. And that kind of an attitude of a spiritual seeker is quite different. They say, even if it takes me an eternity of seeking and I still never find you, I'm happy to be a part of the search. I'm happy to be a part of the journey. I'm not even going to request enlightenment because that's not up for me to get. It's not an object to get or receive from you. So at your time, I am fine with this. And you're ready to serve constantly, So you're not asking for anything. You're just, if anything, you're asking to surrender your desires for everything, including enlightenment. That is where sincerity hits closer to home. If you grip to the idea of enlightenment, what happens? And they give stories to illustrate points like this. What happens if you're at the pearly gates? This is not what I'm I'm just giving some example. But let's pretend you're at the pearly gates. I'm thinking of a story about a sadhu and his dog, but I'm just talking this way for easier, without creating character names and everything. But what if you're at the pearly gates and it's you or your spouse that gets to go in? God help you hopefully you don't pick yourself. Hopefully you don't pick yourself. If you do, there was a lot of things you needed to work out. You should always be surrendering. That means the highest of the high, call it enlightenment or pearly gate, entrance. But you should be able to ungrip it in a moment. It's no big deal. Yeah, fine, take it, enjoy. Have a good time. Simple as that. There should be no clinging to anything, not even the goal of enlightenment, because that clinging is going to fester and turn into something. You know that. You can't cling to anything as an ego without warping it somehow into something that's unholy, right? Because if it results in an unholy action of telling your spouse, I tried to tell you, do your sadhana. Well, I guess next life. Signing off. Clearly your heaven won't be very heavenly. So it has to be this beautiful offering. Make your life a beautiful offering. Everything good that comes to you, give it out. Give it to someone else. Yeah, it's going to be in your hands for some time. Use it for the benefit of someone else. Like, any time you have energy, you have money, you have things, you have time, those are your resources essentially, objects, whatever you already own. But you make use of these things to somehow be of service for other people's sake, to be comfortable. You don't live for your own comfort. You live to use these things to benefit other people. If you're not, then there's something that needs to be fixed with the path. So you should live in a state of full offering. They say that one who has fully surrendered, who's fully bowed, surrendered to the universe, even the universe bows back to them and says, take what you need, gives them everything. But still, they don't want anything. And that's why people go to them asking for so many things. Well, if you don't want it, please, Swamiji, give me blessings. I want $1 million. Please. Everything superficial comes because that's what happens with the ego. It can't see long vision, as Swamiji calls it, so we get stuck to short vision, and we just say, well, this can fix my life now. But what if it doesn't fix the problem of enlightenment? You might say, wow, that's for real spiritual seekers. I can't do that. No, you can. That's just a cop-out. That's an easy way to escape your responsibility to your own soul, to your own heart, to your own destiny. Yes, you can do it. You can do it in this lifetime. Why not? As Swamiji always says when they ask him, can I reach enlightenment in this lifetime? He laughs and says, yes, of course, why not? You may still think different after hearing that. But that has to do with guilt, grief, unattunement, depression, your energies, separation, all those things that you feel so strongly. That you're making those be more superior to the truth he's telling you. And if it's a male saint, female saint, there's no gender when you talk about Atma. So that's a human body idea, I suppose a guna idea, essence even, tattva idea, I suppose. So, the power of sadhana is in some way in your hands, but it's also not yours. It's not really in your hands. Your only power is to surrender. And then when you're given this energy, what do you do with it? Swamiji says many times, and always seems to laugh about it. It's like many times, a Sadguru will give the energy to a disciple just to see what they do with it. I've heard this in so many different occasions. So, if I give it to them, do they make good use of it? Or do they fritter it away on things that are pointless? A way to spend life. It's a good, valuable lesson, something really to think about. So, this is a topic that has many, aspects to it. As you know, with all of these types of talks, they can keep going. You'd think after 50 years they'd be done, but they can keep going for eternity. They're rooted in eternity, so the talks can take on eternal directions. Every single direction imaginable. They can be relayed through cooking examples, mechanic examples, computer programming examples. There's no end. It's just simple and easy. It's just all tied to life. So it's like everything is simple to do. So that's why there's never going to be a stop to those talks. That's why you hear those stories of Shiva talking and his what do you want to call the other half? Truly listening patiently, asking questions and always listening. Perpetual listener. There's a reason. There's no end to the magic of creation, to this infinite unfoldment of the Dharma. So that's the idea. So sometimes even in our sadhana we'll think, I've heard it all. Well, if you haven't enlightened, you haven't heard enough, or you haven't understood what you heard. Either is a real problem. If you hear anything one time and you properly understand it, instant enlightenment done. If you don't, you don't understand. So sometimes people wonder, why do speeches, so to speak, Dharma talk, why do they carry on and continue? And sometimes they feel like they're past it and they're into practice. But if you don't understand, then something's amiss, something's wrong. And sometimes people will say that practice is really what does it, not theory. When the theory is coming from the more of a truth-centered satsang, it's not spoken for theory's sake, but from a true meditative position, or somehow incorporated inside of the grace of a true meditative atmosphere, like through the grace of Swamiji. it takes on a different life. A talk isn't a talk. It's infused with the Shakti, with that Mahashakti that we're looking for. So just like the puja, where when it's really sincere, it carries the Shakti. And it can transport everyone into meditation. Just a little incense stick walking around the temple, transporting everyone into it. Whereas maybe every other ritual being done isn't helping so much because everyone's in a distracted state of mind, everyone doing the puja. But one person brought to the table an ounce of true passion, sincerity, and connection that brought the rest of the people into a nice state of devotion, worship, connection, meditation. So that's something really profound to think about. Meditation may come get you, and take you there, rather than you try to get there by meditating. Yes, you can meditate and try to work it out and get there in a tune by learning skill sets, but it's not always as effective as you think. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to be just more relaxed. We want to feel a real shift of our experiential basis of consciousness, where we are no longer the same. So we'll leave it there for, reflection and we hold this satsang because it's our offering, something that's held inside of the grace and auspices of Sri Swamiji. So we hold it so that people can connect with that energy and benefit energetically, and the rest of the offerings are kind of all secondary. Energy's first, primary, the power, first, the Shakti, first and primary. And everything else, the music, the talk, the everything, the breathing, the puja, is all kind of secondary. Without grace, what can happen? With grace, anything can happen. Without grace, you feel like how most people on earth feel, like they're spinning their wheels and nothing's happening. Can you be on a graceful path and still feel like that? Yes. But you do feel like something's happening. It just might feel deeper than what you can adequately put your finger on and define. And you may not have the surface shift into some higher consciousness type reality. That's okay. You don't need that right away to claim it as true spiritual growth, true spiritual path. You may go through what gets referred more as preparation, which is setting up the right foundation so that you can hold the appropriate level of energy and be able to truly transform on all ways in your life. Plus the ones where you shift immediately do many times create a lot of imbalance, plus they also don't allow you to experience a lot of the aspects of your life without losing that shift of consciousness as well, fighting for it to get it back. And this just turns into another type of a battle that you're dealing with. If you start from the ground up, yes, it doesn't feel that fun. But you do get more stability over time. You become like rock-like and immutable, like pure consciousness. Nothing can faze you, nothing can harm you, nothing can touch you. Everything can still hit the body, but nothing can hit you. The true self, the true you, the true Atma. When you have that degree or level or type or reality of stability with a capital S, then everything else can happen. But if you don't have that level of peace or non-conflict, non-dualistic peace, non-conflict, if you don't have that, then everything else can crumble, can all fall apart. So we're trying to develop a strong foundation in which the power trickles until it eventually comes to fully empower. But you don't get full empowerment if you want to use it for your own aim. You get it when you no longer desire to use it for yourself. And if you have a lot of wishes about how you want to fix the world, check it close. You'll find how you have your own agenda behind it also. You need to be very clear. There's no room for, one little tiny itty-bitty twisted motive, where you wouldn't call it twisted, but if anything is putting attention back on the ego to force that sense of separation or to maintain it just a little bit longer, it's still in the way. So take that to contemplate, to think about. Like always, attuned to the energy. We do this to sit in this energy together. If sometimes the talk either goes over your head or you feel like you know more than what's being said, either is fine. And don't worry about it, just connect to the energy. Sometimes you resonate with puja, wonderful. Sometimes you don't, and you don't understand it, and you kind of get against it, fine, just connect to the energy. Don't worry about it. The key here is energy available for all. So take it, use it, connect with it. It's a way to re-empower yourself. It's a way to realign yourself to get things moving in the direction you want them to go.
Shivoham, 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 Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. Shivoham, Shivoham. I am not the body, I am not the mind. I am not the earth and I am not the sky, not the stirrings of heart of my innermost self. I am pure, I am bliss. Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham. I am not the prana, I am not the breath. I am not a part of material realm. I am not the motions or graspings of life. I am pure, I am bliss. Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham. Not hatred nor like, not greed nor pride, not feelings of envy or goodwill inside, not dharma, desire nor salvation abide. I am pure, I am bliss. Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham. I am not the joy and I am not the pain. I am not the loss or material gain. Dissolve all attachments and what will remain. I am pure, I am bliss. Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidanandarupa, Shivoham. I am without virtue, I am without vice. No mantra, no savior, no sacrifice. bliss, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham. I never was born and I never will die. I am not the seeker, I am not the guide, not family nor friend, no confines reside. I am pure, I am bliss, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham. I am without form and I'm free from all bonds. I am not of this world. I am all in all time and all space and beyond. I am bliss, I am pure, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupa, 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 Shivoham, 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 असतो मा सद्गमया तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमया मृत्युर्मामृतं गमया ॐ असतो मा सद्गमया तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमया मृत्युर्मामृतं गमया ॐ असतो मा सद्गमया तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमया मृत्युर्मामृतं गमया लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु हरि ओम तत्सत् हरि ओम तत्सत् हरि ओम तत्सत् ओम शांति शांति शांति
Like always, it's beautiful to spend this time with you. All of us to be in Satsang together, connecting with the grace, energy, the reality of Swamiji. May you feel the energy go with you and support you in your sadhana. May you feel it empower you, and give you a new sense of purpose and direction. May you feel healed on the levels that you need it. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste and see you soon.